Narco-terrorism is where the illegal drug trade collides with the violent tactics of terrorism, creating a new and dangerous hybrid threat. Criminal organizations, once focused solely on profit, now employ terror to protect their interests and expand their reach. In the Western Hemisphere, powerful cartels now rival small nations in both wealth and influence, operating with near impunity in some regions. These groups use their vast resources to corrupt institutions, destabilize governments and spread fear across borders, undermining democracy and the rule of law. The flow of deadly drugs like fentanyl into the US has fueled a devastating public health crisis, claiming thousands of lives and undermining regional stability. When criminal networks adopt terror tactics, bombings, assassinations, and mass intimidation, they become a hybrid threat demanding a forceful, coordinated response. Their operations are global, their methods increasingly brutal, and their ability to infiltrate governments makes them a direct national security threat to many countries. The US now recognizes these organizations as more than just criminals. They are geopolitical actors, prompting a major shift in policy and strategy. Designating certain groups as terrorist organizations has opened the door to new, more aggressive methods of engagement, including international cooperation and military action. The fight against narco-terrorism is now a critical component of homeland defense, with the world watching closely as nations adapt to this evolving threat. On November 15, 2025, the U.S. put its new doctrine into action with a lethal strike in the Eastern Pacific. U.S. forces targeted a narcotics vessel operated by individuals linked to a designated terrorist group. Intelligence confirmed the vessel was moving a major drug shipment along a key trafficking route. The strike was swift and deadly, killing 3 suspected narco-terrorists. This was a military action, not law enforcement, underscoring the Pentagon's new approach to trafficking threats. The vessel was in international waters, a zone long exploited by traffickers. The message: the open ocean is no longer a safe haven for those threatening U.S. security. This strike is part of a broader, escalating campaign. Moving from interdiction to direct confrontation, the explosion in the Pacific was meant to send a clear warning to cartels across Latin America. The Eastern Pacific strike marked a pivotal moment under Operation Southern Spear, a bold new initiative that signaled a shift in U.S. military doctrine. This comprehensive U.S. strategy, officially unveiled in November 2025, was designed to address evolving threats in the region with unprecedented resolve. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth described it as a decisive step to defend the homeland from the growing influence of narco-terror networks, emphasizing the urgency of the mission. The operation specifically targets transnational criminal organizations operating throughout Latin America, focusing on the most dangerous and elusive groups. Its aim is to dismantle their vast networks, disrupt their financial operations, and cut off the resources that fuel their activities. Led by U.S. Southern Command, a newly formed joint task force unites military, intelligence, and law enforcement assets for a coordinated multi-domain approach. The U.S. 4th Fleet commands the maritime component, projecting rapid and precise military power across vast ocean territories. The goal is clear: deny narco-terrorists the freedom of movement they've long exploited in international waters and vulnerable coastal states. This proactive strategy means U.S. forces now go directly to the source, neutralizing threats before they can ever reach American borders or communities. Operation Southern Spear authorizes the use of military force against groups officially designated as terrorist organizations, expanding the scope of engagement. Their operatives are now treated as enemy combatants, subject to military detention and prosecution under the laws of armed conflict. It's an aggressive, persistent campaign, one designed to confront a violent enemy with relentless force, determination, and a commitment to long-term security. Operation Southern Spear relies on cutting-edge technology to hunt narco-terrorists at sea. The U.S. Navy deploys unmanned surface vessels, autonomous boats that patrol vast ocean areas for weeks. These robotic platforms use advanced sensors to detect and track suspicious activity. High-speed robotic interceptor boats and vertical takeoff drones provide rapid response and real-time surveillance. Drones can deliver precision strikes when authorized, creating a persistent surveillance and strike network. This technology expands the task force's reach and keeps American personnel out of harm's way. The rules of engagement now allow kinetic strikes on vessels operated by designated terrorist groups. Once a target is confirmed, commanders have the authority to neutralize it with force. The new doctrine treats narco-terrorist vessels as hostile military targets, not just crime scenes. The November 15th strike was just the latest in a campaign that began months earlier, marking a significant escalation in efforts to combat narco-terrorism. Since September 2025, U.S. forces have killed 82 suspected narco-terrorists and destroyed dozens of vessels, disrupting major trafficking operations. Only 3 survivors have been reported, highlighting the campaign's lethal nature and the high stakes involved. The operation is high-tempo and relentless, with 20 strikes on suspected trafficking boats in just over 2 months, showcasing the intensity and commitment of U.S. forces. Each strike destroys not only drugs, but also transportation assets and experienced personnel, significantly weakening the operational capabilities of these criminal networks. The campaign began with a major strike on September 2nd, killing 11 members of Venezuela's Tren de Aragua gang, a notorious criminal organization. Subsequent operations, including one personally ordered by President Trump, have targeted key trafficking routes in the eastern Pacific and near Venezuela, aiming to cut off critical supply lines. The focus is guided by intelligence, targeting specific organizations and vessels with precision, ensuring maximum impact. This is a war of attrition, making narco-terrorism so costly and dangerous that networks begin to fracture and lose their grip. The campaign's geographic spread, from the Caribbean to the Pacific, reflects U.S. concern with both state and non-state actors, addressing a wide range of threats. The message is clear: nowhere is safe for those fueling the drug trade and terror, as the U.S. continues its relentless pursuit. Operation Southern Spear targets the entire ecosystem of narco-terrorism, not just a single cartel. U.S. forces have sunk narco-submersibles, disguised fishing boats, and high-speed go-fast vessels. The focus is on vessels tied to designated terrorist groups, providing legal authority for lethal force. 2 groups stand out: Venezuela's Tren de Aragua and Colombia's ELN. Linking trafficking to these groups justifies the strikes and keeps the campaign focused on the most dangerous threats. Tren de Aragua, born in a Venezuelan prison, now operates across South America, notorious for violence and expansion. The U.S. designation of the gang as a terrorist group reflects its role in regional instability. The ELN, a leftist guerrilla group, funds its insurgency through the drug trade and has a long record of terrorism. Strikes on ELN-affiliated vessels have drawn diplomatic criticism, highlighting the operation's complex international impact. The first lethal strike of the campaign put Tren de Aragua in the crosshairs. Originating from Venezuela's Tocaron prison, the gang has evolved into a feared transnational criminal enterprise. Its business spans drug trafficking, human smuggling, extortion, and contract killings. Tren de Aragua uses terror, including social media videos, to intimidate rivals and civilians. The U.S. classified the group as a terrorist organization, enabling military action under Operation Southern Spear. The gang's rapid expansion follows mass Venezuelan migration, establishing cells across South America and even in the U.S. By targeting the gang's drug smuggling at sea, the U.S. aims to cut off its financial lifeline. The September 2nd strike signaled that the U.S. sees no distinction between the gang's business and its acts of terror. For the Pentagon, a Tren de Aragua drug vessel is a legitimate military target. Another major target is Colombia's ELN, a guerrilla group turned narco-terrorist organization. Founded in the 1960s, the ELN's ideology is now deeply entwined with the cocaine trade. Drug profits fund weapons, recruitment, and operations, while the group continues bombings, kidnappings, and attacks. The ELN's fusion of insurgency and organized crime makes it a complex threat to regional stability. U.S. strikes have targeted ELN-linked vessels, killing suspected operatives and drawing diplomatic rebukes from Colombia. These actions highlight the diplomatic challenges of targeting groups involved in another nation's internal politics. The U.S. position ELN drug trafficking is a transnational threat, not just Colombia's problem. By hitting the ELN's maritime logistics, the U.S. aims to weaken the group financially and operationally. The strategy is clear: treat the ELN as a hostile terrorist organization, not a political movement. Operation Southern Spear marks a dramatic escalation in the fight against narco-terrorism. With 82 traffickers killed and dozens of vessels destroyed, the campaign's immediate impact is clear. The goal: impose high costs, force traffickers to adapt, and degrade their capacity to operate. Critics warn that military action alone may not dismantle entrenched networks or address root causes like poverty and corruption. Diplomatic fallout, such as Colombia's criticism, complicates the mission. The future will require a multi-pronged approach: military action, intelligence sharing, financial sanctions, and stronger partnerships. The aim is to make the environment so hostile that narco-terrorist groups can no longer function. Operation Southern Spear is a visible shift. Narco-terrorism is now treated as a direct military threat. For traffickers and terrorists, the seas have become a far more dangerous place.